Hello and welcome to the Crime Gods YouTube channel. Would you like to be informed on turning points in crime history you never knew of? And unheard tales of significant crime figures? Stay tuned. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the biography of the infamous El Chapo. For more videos like this, like, subscribe, and click the notification bell. Thank you. A notorious Mexican drug lord who escaped once before from prison and spent more time than a decade on the run has done it again. This time, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman disappeared down a hole near his cell and walked nearly a mile underground to freedom, triggering a massive manhunt. There may be many drug lords in history and in the present era, but the name El Chapo will always stand apart. His real name was Joaquin Archibaldo Guzman Loera. The story of El Chapo is both mysterious and interesting. Some say he was brave, and no one was able to hold him down, while others say that many police officers were already in his pocket. El Chapo means shorty, but unlike the name, his story tells otherwise. To some, he is a revolutionary hero and a latter-day Robin Hood, the most powerful peasant who looks after his people. To others, he is public enemy number one, the first since Al Capone on the run for over a decade. Forbes magazine has labeled him one of the richest and most powerful men on earth. Let us start with his childhood. El Chapo belonged to a poor family, like most drug lords. His father was a farmer, and all of his siblings used to work together in fields in the rural community of La Tuna, Badiaguado, and Sinaloa, Mexico. He was born on April 4, 1957. He had 2 younger sisters and 3 younger brothers, but there is some ambiguity around whether or not he had 3 more brothers that died of natural causes when he was young. His father was an alcoholic and used to spend all of his earnings on girls and drinking. He never liked his life. In his early childhood, he used to collect fake money bundles and used to count them repeatedly with happiness. His father beat him a lot, and one day he was kicked out of the house. He went to live with his grandfather, and here he got the name El Chapo because of his short appearance. He wanted more opportunities in life, so he went to live with his uncle Pedro Aviles Perez. This was a new turn in his life, as his uncle was one of the pioneers of Mexican drug trafficking. He first worked with drug lord El Guido. He transported drugs and used to oversee shipments. Now, the thing that made him famous in the drug business was his violence, and to the point of behavior about this business. He simply used to kill the supplier if the shipment was late. His violent behavior aroused fear in some people around him. People started believing that betraying or lying to him was dangerously unwise. He became a star for the leaders of the Sinaloa Cartel, and they introduced him to Felix Gallardo. Felix was a major drug lord in Mexico at the time. Things took another turn, and after working as a chauffeur for Felix, he became in charge of logistics. Over time, he earned enough trust to work directly with Felix. Felix was doing great business, but was limited to South America until 1980. In 1980, the U.S. government increased law enforcement surveillance. Competitors gave Felix more control. In all that time, El Chapo continued to grow under his influence. El Chapo wielded so much power as head of the Sinaloa drug cartel that the Chicago Crime Commission called him public enemy number one, a label applied to gangster Al Capone in 1930. He escaped from Mexico's Altiplano maximum security prison through a specially built, well-lit and ventilated tunnel that ended in a half-built house in a rural farm field nearby. The elaborate escape route, built allegedly without the detection of authorities, allowed him to do what Mexican officials promised would never happen again: slip out of one of the country's most secure penitentiaries. The whole escape was strange, but this is not the first time. After his escape in 2001 from Puente Grande prison, he spent more than a decade on the run, rising to the head of the Sinaloa Cartel, which smuggles large quantities of drugs into the United States. The cartel is a key player in a drug war that has ravaged parts of Mexico for years and has cost thousands of lives. El Chapo escaped that time with the help of prison guards, who allegedly hid him in a laundry cart. He was recaptured in February 2014 and held at Altiplano since then. We share the government of Mexico's concern regarding the escape, U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch said in a statement. The U.S. government stands ready to work with our Mexican partners to provide any assistance that may help support his swift recapture. Flights near Altiplano were suspended, and roads and highways in the surrounding areas were being searched by security officials. Guatemala's Interior Ministry used a special task force of police and soldiers to watch the border with Mexico for any signs of Guzman. He fled to Guatemala at least once before and had an earlier arrest there in 1993. A former administrator of the Drug Enforcement Administration said that he was dismayed by the bold getaway. "It is a shock that the most dangerous cartel leader in the world has escaped," said Peter Bensinger. He ought to have been housed in an American prison. Gal Pazetsky, a Chicago defense attorney who had represented drug traffickers in the U.S. courts nationwide, said he was not surprised by Guzman's escape, given Mexico's prison's reputation. "I'm surprised he stayed locked up in there as long as he did," Pazetsky said. Regular people find it mysterious how a drug dealer escapes from a high-security jail without the help of police so many times. The escape story is also so mysterious that no one noticed all this going on right beneath their noses. Many members of his family also joined him to pursue the criminal activities he started. The drug business became the family business of El Chapo. He remained on the run for so long, and on February 21, 2013, it was reported that Guzman was killed in a gunfight with Guatemalan security forces near the border between Guatemala and Mexico, in the town of San Francisco. However, later they found out it was just a rumor. He was again arrested in 2016. According to the official report published by the Mexican Navy, citizens reported armed people in a house at the coastal city of Los Mochis in northern Sinaloa, which was then placed under surveillance for 1 month. Monitored communications indicated the home was being prepared for the arrival of grandma or aunt, which authorities suspected was code for a high-priority potential target. After the gunman returned to the house, placing a large order for tacos at a nearby restaurant and picking up the order in a white van after midnight. After the gunman returned to the house, placing a large order for tacos at a nearby restaurant and picking up the order in a white van after midnight, the residence was raided in the early hours of January 8, 2016, in Operation Black Swan, by 17 Marines from the Mexican Navy Special Forces, with support from the Mexican Army and the federal police, but Guzman and a lieutenant escaped through a secret tunnel, emerging 1.5 kilometers away and stealing a vehicle at gunpoint. A stateside alert was issued for the stolen vehicle, and the federal police located and intercepted it about 20 kilometers south of Los Mochis, near the town of Juan Jose Rios. Guzman attempted to bribe the officers with offers of cash, properties, and other jobs. When the officers refused, Guzman told them, "You are all going to die." The 4 police officers sent pictures of Guzman to their superiors, who were tipped that 40 assassins were on their way to free Guzman. To avoid this counterattack by cartel members, the police officers were told to take the prisoners to a motel on the outskirts of town to wait for reinforcements, and later hand over the prisoners to the Marines. They were subsequently taken to Los Mochis Airport for transport to Mexico City, where Guzman was presented to the press at the Mexico City airport, and then flown by a Navy helicopter to the same maximum security prison from which he escaped in July 2015. During the raid, 5 gunmen were killed, 6 others arrested, and 1 Marine was wounded. The Mexican Navy said that they found 2 armored cars, 8 assault rifles including 2 Beret M82 sniper rifles, 2 M16 rifles with grenade launchers, and a loaded rocket-propelled grenade launcher. Guzman was found guilty of all counts on February 12, 2019. He was sentenced on July 17, 2019 to life in prison, plus 30 years, and ordered to forfeit more than $12.6 billion. He is now serving his sentence at ADX Florence, the nation's most secure supermax prison under Federal Register Number 89914-053. Many people still think of him as a good person, and many think of him as a notorious criminal. All we know is he escaped high-level security jails many times with extreme precision and planning. Maybe after all, he was working with local police to eradicate other gangs, or maybe not. Maybe he was just working for the system, or maybe he was against the system. Maybe he was a notorious criminal after all, Or maybe not.